Eovaldi and Xander Bogaerts, to the surprise of no one, both denied the Red Sox qualifying offer. They weren't the only ones, though. There were several players who denied the qualifying offers from their respective teams. But when it comes to Eovaldi and Bogaerts, now what?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. I am your host, NESN's Lauren Willand. I am back after a few days away. Shout out to Jake for holding it down for me while I was in Philly celebrating my good friend's wedding. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. Jake and I will be back tomorrow with a very exciting episode featuring Brandon Walter of the Boston Red Sox. So we're super excited for that. But for today, we're going to talk about the qualifying offers, kind of what that means now for the Red Sox and Eovaldi as well. We're going to also talk about in the second segment of the show, the 40-man roster. And the Red Sox did make some moves. They did have kind of a surprise who was left on there. We can probably all guess who it is, too much of my disdain, but we'll get to that in the second segment. So Nate Eovaldi was offered a qualifying offer from the Red Sox. It's a 1-year, $19.65 million deal. And he informed the Red Sox that he will decline the offer. And that would have guaranteed, if he accepted it, that would have guaranteed him the $19.65 million. So if another team not named the Boston Red Sox go out and sign Eovaldi, they will be forced to surrender draft pick compensation. That's just a kind of a deal with those qualifying offers. And there's been reports out there that Eovaldi has been offered a multi-year deal by the Red Sox. They will continue to negotiate. Both sides will continue to negotiate. And Rob Bradford reported that no deal at this moment appears imminent, so they will continue to work toward that. Eovaldi finished the 2022 season going 6-3, a 3.87 ERA across 20 starts. He struggled a lot in the second half. He had a back ailment. He had some other injuries that hindered him throughout the season, and he was in the final year of his 4-year, $69 million deal. So had Eovaldi accepted that qualifying offer, it would have been a slight salary bump by just over $2 million. He was making an annual salary of $17 million that he earned from the Red Sox over those last 4 seasons of his deal. He was on the injured list a bit this season. He started on the IL June 12th to July 15th. That's when he had the back issue. He had the lower back inflammation. And then August 23rd to September 29th with shoulder inflammation. And it was a very disappointing final year in his contract. You know, you're playing in a contract year. You obviously want the best for the pitcher. The pitcher wants to give his best because he wants to get a better contract. He hopefully wants to pitch his way into more money. I personally did not think Eovaldi did that just from everything that happened this season with him. But what has stood out to me over the last 3 seasons in particular with Eovaldi is that he's really kind of stepped up as the ace of the Red Sox. Chris Sale's been injured. He's had some health issues. And obviously this past season with the other injuries and the recovery, it was just Eovaldi's time to shine these last 3 years. And as recently as 2021, Eovaldi finished 4th in AL Cy Young Award voting. So we know that he's very capable of pitching in a strong role, that ace role. We just didn't see a lot of that in 2022, unfortunately, with health ailments. He was only limited to 20 starts. But Eovaldi and his team, if they truly believe that they can get him more years, more money on the open market, obviously go for it. Get that bat. He's done so much for this Red Sox team. You know, he played a huge role in 2018, and we've talked about it so many times on this show. That 18-inning marathon World Series game against the Dodgers, just nearly pitching his arm off, literally moving his teammates to tears with his performance. And he was moving between the bullpen and the starting rotation. So he just was a huge, huge factor in 2018. I just wish we could have seen more of that in 2022, especially in the season, during the season, that the Red Sox just really needed something like Eovaldi to just replicate 2018 and be the ace that he had pretty much been for the last 3 years. So it was very, very unfortunate to see the season that he had. And qualifying offers, they get rejected quite frequently. In fact, this year there were only 2 players who accepted that, and that was Jock Peterson of the San Francisco Giants and old friend Martin Perez. He accepted his with the Texas Rangers. So both of them are guaranteed $19.65 million. They were the only 2 of 14 MLB players who accepted the qualifying offer. So obviously that means Xander Bogaerts rejected his as well. Duh. We all knew this was coming the second he opted out of his deal. There's been plenty of speculation already with where he's going. The Phillies reportedly are interested. The Yankees reportedly have checked in on him, but I think that's going to be heard throughout this offseason until he makes a decision. He's obviously going to be sought after, so I'm not surprised that teams are already popping up in reports. So not putting too much stock into them yet. I'm still just kind of trying to be rational about it and not wonder why the Red Sox haven't signed him yet. But there's obviously going to be teams interested in him. There's Trey Turner, there's Carlos Correa. There's a lot of good shortstops out there. If I was any of those teams, I'd be checking in as well. One person who did not receive a qualifying offer was Michael Wacha. And I did say that if Eovaldi received one, Wacha wouldn't, and vice versa. And I am a little surprised that it was Eovaldi. I am a little surprised that it was Eovaldi and not Wacha who got the qualifying offer, just given the performance. And I know that Eovaldi is respected in this clubhouse. People love him. The fans love him. I was going off stats. I was going off performance. Michael Wacha was incredible last year. This obviously does not mean that the Red Sox can't bring both of them back. I think that their focus seems to be Eovaldi, just judging from the recent reports. I don't know if they'll be able to bring both of them back, especially with the season Wacha had. I do think it's one or the other. I'd like to see Michael Wacha back. I want to see him try to replicate 2022. But if the Red Sox have all this faith in Eovaldi, especially what he's done the last 4 years, that's who they're going to go with. I don't make these decisions. I'm not paid to make these decisions. So my opinion basically means nothing to the Red Sox front office. Going into our second segment of the Locked On Red Sox podcast, we will talk about the 40-man roster. The Red Sox added 5 players to that roster, and they did not DFA one specific player that Twitter certainly had a lot to say about. We'll talk about that coming up as soon as I tell you about SimpliSafe. If you have thought about securing your home with home security, but have kind of been putting it off for whatever reason, you will want to listen up. Right now, Locked On Red Sox listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you will not want to miss this. Especially with the holidays coming, you want to secure your home, because did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spike all across the globe? That's why our friends at SimpliSafe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your SimpliSafe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind around the holiday season. It gives you a ton of peace of mind, even if you are out just for running a few errands. You're not out very long. Even though I have a shepherd for a dog, she is great security. There's no doubt about that. I wanted to take that extra step and make sure my home was secured at all times, even though my dog Roxy, like I said, very, very good security. But you want to have the cameras there in case something gets stolen. God forbid your house gets broken into. You have the pictures, the videos of those people getting in there. Hopefully you can identify them. Hopefully you never have to go through with that. But it is just added security to make me feel safer inside my home, especially around the holidays, especially any other day of the week, just any other Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Whatever day it is, I feel safer knowing that I have SimpliSafe protecting my home. SimpliSafe was also named the best home security system of 2022 by US News and World Report. That is a 3rd year in a row for them. And in an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real, so you can get priority police response. With the top-rated SimpliSafe app, stay in complete control of your system anytime, anywhere, arm or disarm, unlock for a guest, access your camera, or adjust your system settings. Unlocking the door for a guest is so clutch. If I'm in the kitchen, if I'm trying to make something, or if I'm got laundry, I'm doing something where I can't get to the door, I know that it's my guest arriving, just unlock it right from your phone. We can do everything from our phone these days. Why not unlock our door too? Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off the new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedonmlb today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/lockedonmlb. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. So the Red Sox added 5 additional players to their 40-man roster, and those players were Brandon Walter, Chris Murphy, David Hamilton, Weiler Abreu, and Ceddanne Rafaela. Of course, he highlights that group. And this is significant because now these players are protected from eligibility in next month's Rule 5 draft. Red Sox fans are very familiar with this Rule 5 draft simply because of Garrett Whitlock. So none of those players can be plucked from the Red Sox. One notable person who was left off being protected was Thaddeus Ward, friend of the pod, Thad Ward, but he was not protected. So he could get drafted. I would not be surprised. He's had impressive numbers in the Arizona Fall League. That will be disappointing, but there's obviously reason the Red Sox put those 5 players on. And to make room for those 5, they designated Jake Reed and Caleb Hamilton for assignments. So yes, Ryan Brazier is still on the 40-man roster. And when I tell you that Twitter went nuts. And I was very disappointed too. I was like, he is 100% a lock. And I know he pitched well toward the end of the year, but the amount of times that he had chances to be reliable for this team, had chances to close out the game, keep the game close, win the game, and could do none of those things, I was just very, very surprised. But there is another deadline Friday. He could be non-tendered by Friday's deadline. Josh Taylor also is a candidate. So there are still deadlines to be met in this offseason. So you're saying there's a chance. Yes, I'm saying there's a chance that Ryan Brazier may not be on this roster come Friday. But with that, obviously comes a chance that he may still be on this roster come Friday. But we just have to wait and see what the Red Sox end up doing. And there's probably going to be a few other cuts as we get deeper into this offseason. I can see Jarren Duran, maybe I'm being biased, being one of those players who gets cut, but we'll break that down as the offseason gets further into it and if and when that actually happens. So those are the 2 big things happening with the Red Sox. Like I said, we have the Friday non-tender deadline. So there are things happening with the Red Sox. Obviously, we all want the news that Xander Bogaerts resigns with Boston. Hopefully that comes sooner rather than later. We've seen some trades. We've seen Teoscar Hernandez get traded from the Blue Jays. So we know that there's movement. There's movement. Now there's movement in the AL East. And I do think, like I've said before, I think it's going to be a little bit before we hear about Xander Bogaerts' decision. I genuinely think he's going to take his time. He's going to hear out other teams as he should. I just hope the end of this results in him signing with the Red Sox. Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. Thank you for joining this very quick episode, just a recap of what's been happening the last 24 or so hours. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Locked On Red Sox right here on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, the Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcast is where you can find us. Be sure to check out all the other shows across the Locked On network. Locked On MLB, Locked On Yankees, Locked On Phillies, Locked On Blue Jays. A lot of things happening this offseason. Be sure to check back tomorrow. We have a very exciting interview with Brandon Walter, who was just placed on the 40-man roster. So obviously we will talk about that. We'll talk about his last season, his injuries, and everything in between. We're so excited to welcome him back to the show. So be sure to tune in Thursday so you don't miss our interview with Brandon Walter. And until then, have a wonderful day. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow. And as always, let's go Red Sox.